This woman's even got the cover of Vogue magazine. Seriously, this is Jill Biden. Dr. Jill on the cover of Vogue. Quote, every campaign is important and every campaign is hard, shares Dr. Jill, the First Lady, in Vogue's August cover subject. Whatever happens between now and November, it is Jill Biden who will remain the president's closest confidant and advocate. Watch out, Obama. Watch out. You're no longer in charge. It's Jill. It's Jill. Of course, she's been doing this for a while. Remember a couple of years ago when she tweeted out how she was prepping for the G7? And we're all like, wait a second. When did the First Lady start prepping for the G7? Well, apparently in June of 2021, she was there prepping for the G7. Think about that. Because this has been going on for a while. And you know what? This is a tough illness. It's a tough illness. And what you start to see initially, and it can happen very, very, very fast. What you start to see is that one's gait starts to suffer. Gait disorders are quite common, quite prevalent in dementia, much more prevalent than in a normal aging person. They're related to the severity, ladies and gentlemen, of cognitive decline, dementia-related gait changes known as DRGC. They tend to increase when you are struggling from the illness. And so you struggle to walk. You walk at a slower speed. And that's provoked by a decrease in stride length and an increase in support phase. We do have, I believe, Drew on stage with President Obama in Los Angeles recently, and you could see that decreased speed. He's looking out into the crowd, dazed and confused, doesn't know what the heck is going on, and then can't quite seem to get off the stage. So President Obama has to jump in and lead him off slowly, very slowly. Watch. So this is the video. If you are listening on Apple, iTunes, thank you, or Spotify. If you're not, make sure you go over there, subscribe to the show, give us 5 stars, show us some love, give us a review if you can. Anyway, this is him in Los Angeles, and he's kind of looking dazed and confused. He's out there staring at the audience. He doesn't quite know what to do. And then Obama takes his hand, and they walk very, very, very slowly right off the stage. Again, because dementia-related gait changes tend to increase. This decrease in walking speed and a decrease in stride length. You know how he kind of shuffles along. I mean, this is a guy who's really, really suffering. But don't tell his wife. So apparently they had a big family meeting over the weekend. And as you can imagine, the usual suspects were there with Hunter Biden arguing alongside Jill. Why doesn't that not surprise me? Dr. Jill and Hunter Biden on the very same page. Well, you see, what happens when Biden's gone? The spigot dries up. The power is gone. Now, if you're Jill Biden, you've worked your entire married life trying to help this guy along, trying to make sure that you would one day become the First Lady. What an interesting contrast, incidentally, thinking about Melania Trump and how she's like, no, thank you. I don't want any part of this. I'm going to stay in Palm Beach very much. You know, you go do your thing, I'll do mine. And then you have Jill Biden, who's out front and center cheering this husband along, trying to prep him for the debate, trying to prep him for G7, apparently, and being his handler and his nurse at all times. Well, I'll tell you, this woman's got her work cut out for her because he's lost, he's dazed and confused. Think about this. Here he is in the debate, getting completely lost as he tries to beat Medicare. I mean, who knew you could beat Medicare, right? Watch.
That of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
1,000?
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million. $billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump? Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security.
You see, the beauty of this debate, you guys,
destroy
is that Joe Biden can't sustain himself for the 2 minutes that you're given or afforded to answer a question. And so what was great is Donald Trump couldn't jump in to interrupt and therefore save Joe Biden. We're looking at this going, or at least me in real time, Jake, what are you doing? Well, Jake had a timer and the timer was up, right? The 2 minutes were hit. And so he had to come in and you're talking about saved by the bell, right? Joe Biden had to end what he was saying as a result of that time situation. But what's crazy is that he couldn't remember facts and figures. He gets his billions and his millions and his trillions all mixed up, right? Along with everything else. I mean, somehow the guy thinks that there was a 15% unemployment rate when he came to office. Not true. It was actually 6.4%. And for some reason, he thinks that Trump created the 9.1% inflation when in actuality, for 15 months during the first part of his presidency, guess what? We had record low inflation. 1.4% was what he was delivered. So Joe Biden doesn't remember anything, but he does get his head crammed with a bunch of statistics, I guess. I mean, it took him, a whole week there at Camp David? They worked really hard prepping him. And now everybody's like, oh, they prepped him badly. I'll tell you this. You know what? In fairness, they clearly prepped him badly because the guy couldn't even look at the camera straight on. We had to see expressions like this over and over. I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't even teach him how to look at the camera. You know that the camera's going to be on you at all times. And when Trump's answering, the camera's on you. You've been in the business a long enough time. Your handler's on. But here's the thing. Maybe they couldn't do anything about it, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe they couldn't because he's that far gone. That's what I'm thinking. He is that far gone. So what do? Jill holds on for dear life. Let me just say, as a wife, as a woman who's in love with your husband, we hope, wouldn't you want to do the right thing and make sure that he has as much dignity as possible in his elder years? If he is suffering, and I do believe he is, and I think she knows he is, wouldn't you want to help your husband? And wouldn't the most logical thing be in this kind of situation to have him ease out? I mean, look, selfishly, because I can't stand any of the Democrats' policies, selfishly, I don't want them subbing him out. I think that this is just fine. And you know what? If you want to default to Kamala at some point, that's just fine too. I don't think you can actually beat any Democrat right now, and I think it would be such a train wreck and such a disaster internally within the party. But leaving that aside, all things being equal, look, Joe Biden cannot win a race. But I just say, as a woman, as a wife, why would you allow that? Why would you allow your husband to be humiliated? I mean, the thing that he's so concerned about, apparently, I mean, remember when he had all the history professors into the Oval Office as soon as he got there, and he's like, how can I make my mark on history? How can I be like FDR? And they told him, oh, you're going to be great. Just put this program in and this program and this freebie and that freebie. Of course, he couldn't get anything done because he didn't have everybody else on his side, but he tried. He wanted to leave his mark on history. He's so obsessed with his legacy. You're obsessed with your legacy, then you exit stage right, or in your case, stage left. Okay? You just exit. But he's not doing that. He's so troubled right now because the people around him are giving in. Listen, when you have something, and I do believe he has dementia, when you have that, you can become really obstinate, right? You can dig in your heels. We've all seen it before with loved ones. I say it's like taking away the car keys. But in this case, you're taking away the keys to the entire kingdom, the keys to the free world, and he does not want to surrender. And so he may be bullying people, so to speak, around him, but you have to have enablers that are willing to get bullied. And why are they being so adamant about promoting his side of things? It's not for his benefit. It's not. I mean, it's clear. Let's watch this clip. Clip number 4 from the debate where he doesn't know what he said, as Trump rightly pointed out.
I've changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
He doesn't. He absolutely doesn't, guys. And that's what's so sad about this. So I go back to, where's Jill? What's Jill doing? Why isn't Jill taking charge in the right way? Is it that important to her that he get another 4 years? Is it that important to Hunter Biden? Apparently it is, because, Hunter kind of makes his living through Pops. And if Pops is no more, what happens to the Biden name? What happens to the Biden legacy? They're all worried about that instead of actually being worried about the country and about the man. Look, the handwriting's on the wall. The Democrats are trying to get rid of him. I mean, they got a little problem in that he does not want to be getting rid of. And by the way, Jill and Hunter and everybody else are clinging on for dear life.